So this year, San Diego Comic-Con has been canceled, as we all know, which is just the cherry on top of the shit pie that is 2020. And while at-home Comic-Con was kind of cool, it's just not the same.
Let me guess. You're home?
It was. And it was beautiful.
Wow, that sucks.
But even before all that, Comic-Con has been going downhill for a while now. Welcome to Unpopular Opinion, the show where I talk about my unpopular opinion, and today we're going to talk about how Marvel has ruined San Diego Comic-Con. Don't get me wrong, I love Comic-Con. I've been going for 9 years and nothing's going to change. I'm going to keep going as long as I can. That being said, over those 9 years, I have noticed a couple of changes that I'm not entirely fond of. Everything is still there, from weirdos to cosplayers to local artists, but I can't help but feel like it's getting less common, and that's because Comic-Con is more mainstream than ever before. The MCU, or Marvel Cinematic Universe, really blew up after 2012, which was the year the first Avengers movie came out. And ever since that, it's kept growing, and its presence at Comic-Con has as well. The MCU is awesome. The fact that the comics and cartoons I consumed as a kid are now popular enough to carry in common conversations is amazing. I can have a conversation with my own mom on how Vision is a synthetic android created by Ultron. How? Now, I bet you're wondering, if you like Marvel Studios, then what's the problem? Well, it's simple.
The people.
Comic-Con is for anyone who loves comics, games, or nerd culture. However, the newer audiences are what you would typically see at Disneyland. I have been cosplaying over the last 10 years with my friends. However, every time we go to San Diego Comic-Con, we see less and less cosplay. Luckily, there are groups that you can meet up for photo shoots and stuff like that, but what originally felt like a cosplay hotspot has died down a lot, especially if you compare that to LA Comic-Con, which doesn't have that much media attention. Now, obviously, all the cosplayers didn't just disappear, but I do know it's a lot harder to get into San Diego Comic-Con, and that it's no longer the hotspot for cosplay, and I feel like this is partly due to the fact that Marvel Studios has attracted a very single-minded audience.
That was the plan.
Not a great plan.
My issue isn't with Marvel Comics or even really Marvel Studios, but rather the fans that are created from the MCU. I'm a huge fan of both Marvel Comics and Marvel Studios, but the point of the matter is a lot of these people don't realize how out of their element they really are. You don't catch me at EDC listening to Nicki Minaj or whoever the hell goes to those things, because that is not my domain. I'm not trying to be the, I liked Marvel before it was cool guy, but there is just a lot more to Comic-Con than Marvel. Another downside is that a lot of content creators and artists go unnoticed. If you ever get the chance to go to San Diego Comic-Con, I beg you to go to Artist Alley. A lot of those artists have to pay to have a booth there, and they go mainly unnoticed. And that's where some of the best content lies. I truly recommend it, and I spend a good amount of my money at Comic-Con in Artist Alley.
What did it cost?
Everything.
Hall H happens to be the biggest venue at Comic-Con. It's where Marvel releases most of its exclusive information. It's what actually made Hall H famous. But more importantly, it's known for being the longest line I've ever been in history, sometimes being over 24 hours. Hall H is basically the Jormungandr of this thing. It never ends. And what's worse is you have to show up earlier every year on Friday to get into all the good panels on Saturday. And that's where the issue is most notable. The fans, their animosity towards each other on Friday night Hall H is really astounding. People will cut each other, people will get in fights, call security on one another. On one year, some person made fake wristbands so that they can get in early and just printed them out and copied them. Made like a couple $1,000 from what I heard. It's crazy what people will do just for this moment when Comic-Con is just so much more.
You've missed the point entirely.
And the only reason I can really say this with absolute certainty is because every year that Marvel Studios hasn't showed up to Hall H, it hasn't been an issue. I've gone to a couple of them, it just depends on what panels I like. But that's the problem in itself. If Marvel Studios is playing at the end, everyone wants to get in for that one. So people will stay in and watch panels they don't like just so that they can see the Marvel Studios panel at the end. And I'm part of the problem. I've done it a couple of times myself. Comic-Con has become an outlet for other forms of pop culture. Movies, television shows, video games, which are all great, but they have a separate place. I think it's crazy that you can walk into the Marvel Comics panel at any time without a wait, but the Hall H Marvel Studios, you have to wait 24 hours in line. That to me is bonkers. I'm not trying to be a gatekeeper here. However, it's very obvious that Marvel Studios brought a lot of attention to this convention, and it's something that's supposed to be a little bit more niche. Not to mention that just because it can be for anyone doesn't mean it should be for everyone. Hey everyone, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and also check out my podcast where my co-host and I go through our Comic-Con adventures over the years.